Cloud.
Right. Okay. So,
Hello.
hello. So, so, you going to first answer the question I already had,
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah. You asked me, well, the first one was about diamond inquiry, and the other one was about
yeah,
the Enneagram.
yeah.
Um, which one are you more curious about?
Just let's just go in order for the sake of simplicity.
In order?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
which one will I ask first?
Okay. Yeah, diamond inquiry. It's so strange. My image is too big on the screen. See if I can cover it up with paper or something. Just look at your little box. Um, so diamond inquiry is it's just a practice of getting into the middle of your own experience. You're exploring what it's like to be you, what it's really actually experientially like to be you. So you usually set a timer and then be curious about what's happening. So you like I can just do model some inquiry. I don't know if that I'm just going to mess up the interview, but so with the you're being curious about what's coming up, the sensations in the body, the any thoughts that come up, feelings, emotions that come up. And what's different about this than when we're normally just sitting around trying to figure out what we think and feel, like, am I okay with that or not? But um, it's different because you're not trying to make anything different. You're trying to accept whatever is, including anger or hatred or anything that you don't think you should be having in your experience. So you're not muddling with your own uh, inner experience. And when you don't try to fix it and change it and shape it and be the person you think you should be in this particular moment, you start to discover who you actually are in this moment. And it's very, very exciting because the more that you do it, you start to realize that it's always way more cool than the you that you thought you were trying to be. Um, that's the gist.
Yeah, I think typology helped me with that a lot
What did you
as
say?
well. Just I think with that just knowing who I am, typology helped a lot as well. Figuring out which type. And it's like, oh, I'm like I'm not I'm not supposed to be this extrovert I always try to be. If I'm SI lead, that means I can just be that, and that's given me a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway,
Thank
I
goodness for
think.
SI leads.
Sorry.
Thank goodness for SI leads. They're very important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I don't know. I guess I don't know. This is your interview, so I don't want to talk too much. But I used to really try to be that any lead, but it's it's good to know who you are, so you don't have to try to be someone else. Anyway, and I also found it interesting the Enneagram thing, how not knowing for sure which type you are also makes you unsure about the Enneagram. How does that work?
Yes, yes, because usually, I mean, if somebody has one conscious function, they have it's it's easier to they fit the Enneagram better also.
Uh,
They have, it's pretty easy to see what they're motivated by, what they're limited by, and but the more functions that somebody does have conscious, the more it's the just like with signal mixing, the ways that people usually type in the Enneagram, there's a lot of like vibe typing and visual typing that
mm,
happens, even though that's not like right. But anyway, those people are I'm getting distracted because people are coming in the house and wondering who they are. But anyway, yeah, so I experienced myself as being a core one, the Enneagram, um, point one, which is, do you know the Enneagram kind of?
Not really, a little bit. Not really. I don't really remember it much. I remember years ago I got a 2 on the test, and I thought it was somewhat relatable, but I don't remember a lot about it other than that.
Yeah, the paper's falling down. Um, Twos are neat.
That's good. So yeah.
Okay, so
But you
yeah,
have more to say?
I was just going to talk about my
Uh,
experience of the Enneagram myself in the
Oh yeah.
Enneagram,
Okay, yeah.
and I hope some other people. So I find myself getting into presentation mode because I'm like maybe this interview will go on to the database, and then people will learn that I really am a one. But
Very JE, wanting to wanting to get that point across to
exactly,
people.
exactly, exactly. Um, and we'll see what my typing says
Yeah.
about how many J's I've got going on with the cognitive type. But um, I experience being J about P-ness, that you have to be P if you want to be intelligent. You can't be shutting things down and deciding to end the learning process. That's those are the kind of stuff that I'm Jay about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just not coherent right now. And we were talking before the interview, but here I'm saying it again because now we're making a recording. People are going to be like,
Yeah.
why is she such an airhead?
Yeah.
It's because she's looking at her reflection, and that's so silly.
But yeah, I definitely agree. I think you need both. You need J and P. There's a reason why we have both.
You
It,
think so, huh?
I think, yeah, if you only needed one, you would only have the one. But there's a reason why we can do both. It's because we should do both. Anyway, that's just what I think.
It's going to cover myself with post-it notes. That's going to work pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about the Enneagram point one. Yeah, so I finally got invited to be part of a focus group
Yeah.
or panel of sexual ones. So the I'm I I'm led by the sexual instinct. There's three main instincts. They color the way that our type happens, and so I finally was going to get to meet with other SX ones. They're rare birds. I've only met one person who claimed to be a sexual one, and he didn't seem like he was a sexual lead. So, and one of the names for this type, this subtype, is called the zealot, because they are the most fiery of the ones, the perfectionists. They So anyway, I got to meet with other zealots, and I was so excited. It was pretty much the most exciting thing. I don't usually get excited. I used
Oh,
to, but for the
really?
last 10 years, since got I had a non-dual experience that rearranged my personality in some ways, um, or put a lot more space in between the structures of my personality. But anyway, I was very excited to meet these other SX1s, but they thought I was too excited to be an SX1. My excitement disqualified me from belonging in the group of zealots. Now, I hope they're watching this right now and seeing that that's not right. But anyway, it's also true that I have a lot of seven, and I look like a lot more like a seven than
Yeah.
I do look like a one. So I put both typings on my. Um, the thing about the Enneagram I'm not can't explain it all to you right now if it's not something that you're familiar with, but part of the way that you find your core type is by recognizing usually there's a wing, one of the types that's as
Yeah,
adjacent
yeah,
to your type that also influences the way your type happens. And there's airhead. Um, and you have also the lines connecting you to two other types on the
uh,
Enneagram.
yeah,
You
I
know,
remember that.
those lines that go between the points, they actually
Yeah,
have functions, they have a meaning. And so you if you recognize that you do sometimes look, act, feel like this other type and this other type, you can figure out what's in between to see where your type is. So, and that's one way. Another way is to look at the levels of health in that core type. And if it's your type, you basically be able to recognize yourself at every level of health or and unhealth. You'd be like,
yeah,
oh shit, yeah. When it went, the worst time of my life, yeah, that's what I did. So by using all of those methods, I am a one. I don't really have a proper wing on my seven. If I'm core seven, then I would it would have to be an eight wing as far as I. But if I'm a core seven, I really don't know myself, so I got to stop saying that I think I know anything. I do have a lot of fun. I do have a lot of fun,
a lot of
and
fun.
that's
Okay.
um that's changed a lot in the this last decade is different the than the rest of my life before when everything seemed a lot more serious. Everything seemed
Mm,
a lot more important.
yeah, yeah, that's I'm 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 the opposite. I've been more serious in the past few years. I want to get back into the more fun. This is part of that getting into vultology. It's like I just gotta do something that I enjoy again. And it's been good. So, so I say before going into the website questions, I've got another question as well. How did you get into like typology in general and then specifically into vultology?
Well, Um, I was not into the Enneagram when I first encountered it. Living in intentional communities, there were people all around me who were into the Enneagram. It seemed like it was like any other, you know, typology. It didn't seem clearly useful. It didn't seem clearly interesting. People just would be like, ha ha ha, he's such a three, you know.
It's a three.
But then I did sit down one day with the the wisdom of the Enneagram, the blue Enneagram book, or the which is taught like kind of like the Bible or whatever of the Enneagram. And then I found myself in points 2 and 1. I read about the types, and once I read that, I was like, oh yeah, wow. I could feel it's sort of like if you'd seen your reflection in the mirror all these years, but you didn't realize that you couldn't see, and you put on
Mm,
some glasses, and it's the same you that you've been looking at the whole time, but there's more resolution. There's more, um, that's just a finer grain of discrimination.
mm,
So that was exciting, a finer resolution of the self.
mm,
And um, I still didn't geek hard on it. I was living without electricity, and I was a mom and a mom of 4 kids and a farmer, and I
mm,
just gradually found it more and more useful the more I understood. Also, as somebody on the autism spectrum, I I really found it helpful in understanding other people, and as a T type.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sort of got into Enneagram and then like cognitive typology at the same time.
Oh, no. I was talking with, I can, I can say somebody's name, right? I was talking with David Gray, who's an Enneagram guy. He
All
has
right.
India site. I really like his, uh, some of his content. I'm not saying anything about his person when I say that, but
I'm not familiar with him, so don't worry.
that's okay. The viewer, and now that I'm going to be getting into the codifier and that database, the interview,
Other people will know.
the viewers will know. I was talking with David Gray, and he asked me if I knew my type, knew my cognitive type, and that he linked me to vultology.com, I think. And that was back in the day when I really loved it had the Jordan Peterson, and then it had the uh, Aurora, I think is her name, and it had this F Warm Swells. Um, I can't think of his name, but a spiritual teacher.
Okay.
Um, the fun, like, I toggle dots, and he had
I
little
toggle.
lines drawn uh, to follow the signals, and the signals were labeled in real time. It was like a video that was happening. It was just so
Mm,
exciting, and it's still so exciting.
okay.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure if
I
yeah.
yeah,
No, I'm not sure if I remember who you're talking about. Was it in one of the Vultology videos?
it was something that he had made for the website. And so you just went to the website, and then you suddenly see these three very different types of people, and you
Uh,
see that their mannerisms and everything being labeled in real time with these cool names for
I see.
the.
Okay. So so he asks you what's your like what's your personality type and like in terms of cognitive functions, and you didn't really know.
Well, and when I got typed before, I don't think I should say it here because
Uh,
if I'm getting typed from the video, they're gonna have to have their own
yeah.
opinions.
I see. I see. Okay. And then how did you find out about Vultology specifically?
Oh, that was all the same. That was all the same thing.
Or the same
I
thing?
mean, I I did not know about cognitive type until I learned about vultology by going to
Oh,
vultology.com.
so this was your introduction to it.
That was the first time I went
Wow.
to yeah, yeah. I mean, I knew about Myers-Briggs,
Yeah.
and I hadn't I didn't think that was all that awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably good because then you don't get the sort of bad ideas from the other systems. You go straight into
Right. I'm
CT.
pure.
Pure from the heresies of the other typologies.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'll go on the website and see the question. Okay. So I'm just looking at I'm looking at the website questions on Voltology. Tell me about something you've achieved.
Mm. Well, I walked across the country. Um,
Walked across the
ta-
country.
I walked across the country talking with people about the climate situation. That was an act of grief and desperation, not like I actually thought I was going to solve climate change by walking across the country. But that was something. I played roller derby for a decade, and had many successes. My last two, I just retired this last month, and um, I got most valuable blocker in both of the bouts that I skated in. Uh, and I birthed five children, actually. That's a big accomplishment every
Mm,
time.
mm.
Unassisted at home without a
Oh,
midwife.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Um, yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, just kind of keeps going. I
a
went
great,
back to
great
school
achiever.
recently. I went back to school recently, and I
Right.
almost have a master's degree to
Oh,
become
yeah.
a therapist. Um,
Oh.
that I
You're
never thought I would do
gonna
that.
use vultology in your therapy.
Yep, can't help it. If to the degree that I have more fluency in it, it will just
Yeah,
be implicit in what I
yeah,
do. But
yeah,
I um I think I mentioned or started to reference in one of in our class that I met a young man who was TI lead from
mm,
what I could tell, but he was experiencing shame about his about his inwardness. And
mm,
he had his stepdad was like trying to get him to stop mumbling and being so
mm,
glitchy, and the stepdad was trying to help, but it was not appropriate. And but when saw him TIing
yeah,
and I talked to him about the beautiful thing that he's doing to check in with his internal compass about what is really true for him, then he felt so seen. He started crying.
mm,
It was a major reframe of what he thought he was dealing with in that situation.
yeah. It's really helpful to just help someone realize which type they are and what's natural to them. Even the little things, like I've always been taught to sit up straight, and then I see how, and in the gifts I see how all the PI leads are sitting, and I feel justified. Like some of them are like this. You can't see.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
so, so that
it's
makes me feel justified. Like I was right to not sit up straight.
that's right.
I'm just being true to myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, even I think it does help people out, just helping them realize like that's just your nature. Don't feel shame about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about when we get well write-ups. I would love to have even like write-ups that bring together all of the whatever functions one has conscious into one write-up. But it's really exciting to get your typing and then read about those functions. Um, yep, I think that's very exciting. Because
Yeah.
what else, for most people who are not already into cognitive type, generally, it doesn't mean anything when someone
Yeah.
tells you that you're SETI or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, but you can tell a person that you're just an introvert. Like this is normal for you without going into the specifics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, next question. Oh, it's a hard one. Are you ready?
It's not
If you
hard.
knew
I'm
you
sure it's not hard. But do you know how we are doing on time? Because I don't know. Did we go over 10
it's
minutes?
um I I don't know how long do you want to keep doing this for?
I don't know either.
Because it's no, we've been talking for half an hour now, but you didn't start recording
Right.
immediately, so I don't know.
Well, you have to ask me the hard question, and then we'll be done. I probably.
Okay. If you knew you would die tomorrow, what would you do today?
I think I would probably do the same kind of stuff that I would normally do. I think I would probably cry. I would probably just cry a lot. Um, I did. There was a time when I had very reasonable cause to suspect that I was going to be diagnosed with a very aggressive cancer.
Really?
Um, and the world just started melting in beauty.
Mm,
Everything, everything was beautiful.
yeah.
The advertisements on the television at the Mexican restaurant, was just like, oh, like
That's
being dead and
interesting.
then you get to be alive for one more day.
Yeah, that must be a very influential experience.
Yep, I learned I'm ready to go.
You're ready to go.
It, it's similar to some of these other things we've been talking about, but it had the effect of like refocusing my experience in a way that illuminated everything that was most important, and everything else just fell away, just like that.
It's
And a
interesting.
lot of the things that I thought were that I normally am identified with being very important, like my integrity, this time I just knew what I wanted to do, and it didn't my integrity didn't matter at all. Integrity per se didn't matter anymore.
I just have to say that that was a nice little NESI quirky skit, like my integrity.
Oh, good.
That definitely looked very, very NESI.
You know what? In one of my other videos, I was pretending to be a conductor. Basically, I was pretending to be a king,
Yeah.
and and Auburn screenshotted images from that moment in my as proof that I was J lead.
Yeah, but just you pointing like that as you're explaining this, that looks quite J-lead as well. As you're explaining the story.
Okay, I think we did it.
We did it? Okay.
I think so. I think it was quite enjoyable and for me.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time. And
Okay. Thank you. Let me know what the result is. But to me,
well,
I mean,
I'm just going to post it up in our channel, our soft
oh
type
yeah,
or our typing channel, right, or something.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
you definitely, I see a lot of rigid posture and a lot of forward movements and even a lot of JI, not just JE, but I don't know. But
Mhm.
we'll see what Auburn or Colleen says.
Mhm.
But it that is just how it looks to me. But I don't, I'm not the expert.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're getting experty, I'm sure.
I'll get there someday.
Me too.
Yeah, we'll in the future we'll have intense discussions about a person's type, and there will be shouting and crying and everything, but in the end we'll get to the correct type, so it's all worth it.
Good.
Uh, yeah, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the meeting tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
Okay?
Bye.